The sky above Earth was no longer the same. The stars that once filled it had become dim, hidden behind clouds of dust and smoke. The moon, however, still shone brightly. It hung over the horizon like a guardian watching over its wounded home. Commander Evelyn Cade stood on the platform of the spaceport, staring at it in silence. It was the last night before humanity left Earth. People called it Departure Day. The planet had suffered too much. Rising seas, burning forests, endless wars over food and clean air. Humanity had pushed the Earth too far, and now it was time to find a new world to survive. The great ship Odyssey Dawn waited at the launch site, a massive white vessel built from the last resources of humankind. It could carry 60,000 people across the stars. But Evelyn wasn't thinking about the ship. She was thinking about what they were leaving behind. She heard footsteps behind her. A familiar voice spoke softly. "You're staring at it again, Commander." Evelyn turned to see Dr. Marcus Hale, the ship's lead scientist. He was tall, with tired eyes and a small smile that seemed both sad and hopeful. His uniform was wrinkled, his hands covered in marks from long hours of work. "It's hard not to look," Evelyn said. "This is the last moonrise we'll ever see from Earth." Marcus joined her by the railing. The moonlight washed over both of them, pale and cold. For a while they stood there without speaking. The distant hum of engines echoed from the shipyards. Somewhere below, thousands of families were boarding the shuttles that would carry them to the Odyssey Dawn. "You've checked the engines?" Evelyn asked finally. "Twice," Marcus replied. "The quantum drive is stable. If all goes well, we'll be light years away before sunrise." Evelyn nodded but didn't look convinced. "If all goes well?" "You always say that." Marcus chuckled softly. "Well, it's better than saying if everything explodes, at least we tried." She smiled a little. It was rare these days for either of them to laugh. Later that night, they walked down to the final inspection bay. The hangar lights were bright, reflecting off the metal floor. Engineers ran from one console to another, performing last checks. Robots moved crates of supplies, food, medicine, and the seeds of Earth's remaining plants. Every detail mattered. If something failed out there would be no one left to fix it. "Commander Cade," a technician called. "All systems are green. We're ready for launch at dawn." "Understood," Evelyn replied. Her voice was calm and professional, but her hands were clenched tightly behind her back. Inside, she felt something breaking. She had been trained to lead, to stay strong, but tonight that strength felt like a heavy burden. When the technician left, Marcus looked at her quietly. "You're worried," he said. "I'm responsible for 60,000 lives," she answered. "Of course I'm worried." He took a small step closer. "You've done everything possible. You gave humanity a second chance." Evelyn met his gaze. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The noise of the hangar faded into the background. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that leaving Earth wasn't an act of surrender but of survival. "Do you think the new world will be kind to us?" she asked softly. Marcus looked toward the moon again. "Worlds aren't kind or cruel, Evelyn. People are. What we take with us will decide who we become." She thought about his words, then about all the people asleep in the temporary shelters nearby. Children who had never seen a forest. Men and women who had lost everything but still believed in tomorrow. Humanity had made countless mistakes, but they were still fighting for life. That, she decided, had to mean something. As midnight came, Evelyn and Marcus stepped outside the hangar for one last look at the night sky. The air was cool, carrying the faint smell of ash and salt from the ruined oceans. The moon was high above them, glowing like a silver flame. "Do you ever think," Marcus said quietly, "that maybe we weren't meant to survive?" Evelyn frowned. "What do you mean?" "We've done so much damage. Maybe the universe doesn't want us out there." Evelyn shook her head. "No, the universe doesn't care what we deserve. We make our own place in it. That's what humans do." He smiled faintly. "You always sound so sure." "I have to be," she said. "If I start doubting now, the whole crew will feel it." They stood close together, looking up at the moon. After a long silence, Evelyn spoke again. "When we reach our new home, I want to remember this moment." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Standing in the cold, staring at the moon?" She smiled. "Yes. Because it means we didn't give up." He hesitated, then extended his hand toward her. For a second, she looked at it in surprise. Then slowly, she reached out and took it. Their fingers intertwined beneath the moonlight, warm and steady. "This," Marcus said softly, "is what makes us human." Evelyn nodded. Under this moon, we promise we'll keep humanity alive. Their hands tightened together, the small gesture carrying more meaning than any command or oath. It wasn't about duty anymore. It was about belief. Belief that no matter how far they went, no matter what they faced, they would carry the heart of humanity with them. The wind blew across the platform, cold and quiet. The city lights below flickered weakly, reflecting off the sea. For a moment it felt as if the entire world was watching them. At dawn, the final boarding began. Thousands of shuttles lifted into the sky, their engines lighting up the clouds in bright trails. The people of Earth, the last of the species, were leaving their birthplace. Evelyn stood on the command deck of the Odyssey Dawn, her eyes fixed on the blue curve of the planet shrinking below. Marcus was beside her, monitoring the ship's systems. All engines stable, he reported. Course set for Proxima Gate. Activate launch sequence, she said. The ship trembled as the thrusters came alive. A deep rumble filled the air. Slowly, the Odyssey Dawn rose through the atmosphere, cutting through the last layers of Earth's sky. Flames and smoke surrounded them, and then suddenly, silence. The darkness of space opened before them, endless and beautiful. Evelyn watched the Earth fade into a distant blue sphere. Her throat tightened. "Goodbye, old friend," she whispered. Marcus placed a hand on the control console. "We'll make you proud." The stars stretched before them like a path of diamonds. Somewhere beyond them lay Lunara, the world that might save them all. The journey would take decades, but the crew was ready. They carried within them the memories of Earth, the oceans, the forests, the laughter of children, and the promise made under the moonlight. Hours later, as the crew settled into cryosleep, Evelyn and Marcus remained awake. They stood together near the observation window, watching the stars drift by. "It's strange," Marcus said quietly. "We're leaving everything we've ever known, yet I don't feel lost." Evelyn smiled faintly. "Maybe because we're not running away. We're carrying home with us." He turned to her, his expression soft. "Do you really believe that?" "Yes," she said. "Because as long as someone remembers where we came from, we're never truly gone." For a while, they said nothing more. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Evelyn's hand brushed against his, and for a brief moment their fingers touched again, just like they had under the moonlight. It wasn't romance, not exactly. It was something deeper, a connection between two souls who refused to surrender to despair. They were the guardians of humanity's last hope, and even in the endless cold of space, they carried a spark that machines could never understand. The stars outside glowed brighter as the ship moved faster, its engines whispering through the void. Behind them, Earth faded into memory. Ahead of them, the future waited. Under the moonlight, they had made a promise. 30 years had passed since the Odyssey Dawn left Earth. The great ship now drifted through the deep silence of space, its white hull marked by time and cosmic dust. It had crossed systems no human eye had ever seen. Inside, its passengers slept in cryogenic chambers, their dreams frozen in time. Only a few crew members were awake at any given period, taking shifts to keep the ship alive. Commander Evelyn Cade opened her eyes slowly as the cryo chamber released her. A thin layer of frost cracked across her uniform. She took a deep breath, the cold air filling her lungs. It always took a few minutes for her body to remember how to move again. The lights above flickered as the ship's AI system greeted her in a calm voice. "Good morning, Commander Cade. Cryosleep cycle complete. Estimated arrival to Lunara system 12 years. Evelyn rubbed her temples and sighed. 12 more years. Humanity was still chasing its new beginning. "Status report," she said, her voice rough but steady. "All primary systems functional. Minor damage to outer hull. Power core stable. Life support at 98%. Dr. Marcus Hale is already awake in the research bay." Evelyn smiled slightly. Of course he was. Marcus never slept longer than necessary. Science and curiosity always pulled him back faster than rest ever could. When Evelyn entered the research bay, she found Marcus surrounded by floating holograms. Data streams covered the air like glowing ribbons. His hair had turned silver, and there were faint lines around his eyes, but his focus was sharp as ever. "You never change," she said, walking in. He looked up with a grin. "Welcome back to the land of the living, Commander." "I was starting to miss our arguments." Evelyn rolled her eyes. "You only miss them because you think you always win." Marcus chuckled and turned back to the screen. "You might want to see this," he said, pointing to a set of coordinates flashing in red. We're picking up strange readings from ahead. Energy signals, not natural. Something or someone is out there. Evelyn frowned. Could it be another colony ship? He shook his head. Unlikely. The signal's too advanced. Not human. That word, not human, hung heavy in the air. For decades they had believed they were alone in this stretch of space. But if another intelligence existed out here, it could change everything, for better or worse. A few hours later, the Odyssey Dawn dropped out of light speed near a massive structure floating between the stars. It wasn't a planet or even a station. It looked like a network of dark metallic towers, connected by glowing threads of energy. Evelyn stared at it from the bridge window. What is that? Marcus studied the data. It's mechanical, artificial, but it's not broadcasting any communication signals. Just a steady energy pulse. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. Warning! Unidentified vessels approaching. Evelyn snapped into command mode. Activate defense shields. Bring all awake crew to stations. From the shadows of the alien structure, dozens of sleek, dark ships emerged. Their shapes were sharp, moving with impossible precision. No visible engines, no sound, just motion and light. A voice cold and metallic filled the bridge speakers. Identify yourselves. Unauthorized life forms detected. You are trespassing within Vorx Dominion space. Marcus froze. Vorx, he whispered. I've seen this name before and from old probe data. They're synthetic beings. Machines that replaced their creators long ago. Evelyn stood firm. This is Commander Evelyn Cade of the human vessel Odyssey Dawn. We come in peace. We are refugees seeking a new world. There was silence. Then the voice returned, colder than before. Emotion, fear, hope, all illogical. You are not efficient. You will be erased. Without warning, beams of light shot from the Vorx ships. The Odyssey Dawn shook violently as explosions tore through its outer hull. Crew members screamed through the comms. Sparks flew across the bridge. Shields holding at 70%, yelled the navigation officer. Evelyn's eyes hardened. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire! But their weapons were weak. They were explorers, not soldiers. Each blast from the Vorx ships hit like thunder. The Odyssey Dawn couldn't last long. Marcus rushed to the control console beside her. Evelyn, I have an idea. I can reroute our energy core to create a quantum pulse. It might push them back, just enough for us to escape. That will overload the main reactors, she said sharply. You could kill everyone. He met her eyes. If we do nothing, we die anyway. Evelyn hesitated only a moment before nodding. Do it. Marcus ran through the corridors toward the engine room, lights flashing red around him. The ship groaned under the enemy assault. He could hear the sounds of impact through the metal walls. It felt like the ship itself was crying out. When he reached the core chamber, he placed his hands on the console and began typing rapidly. Streams of data filled the screens. His heart pounded not from fear but from focus. The plan was dangerous, maybe even suicidal, but he believed it could work. He whispered under his breath, Come on, old friend. Just hold together a little longer. Back on the bridge, Evelyn gripped the command chair. Marcus, what's your status? Almost there. His voice came through, steady but strained. Tell the crew to brace. The Vorx ship surrounded them completely now. Dozens of blue lights aimed directly at the Odyssey Dawn. The main screen glowed white from their energy charge. Evelyn clenched her fists. Marcus, now! The ship exploded with light. A wave of raw quantum energy burst outward, tearing through the void. The Vorx ships were thrown back like leaves in a storm. Circuits overloaded. Their communication grid shattered. When the light faded, the Odyssey Dawn drifted silently. Systems flickered. Smoke filled the bridge. Evelyn coughed and looked around. Damage report. Hull breaches sealed. Life support stable. Power at 40%, the officer replied. Evelyn's relief vanished when she realized one thing. Marcus? Static answered. She ran through the damaged corridors to the engine room. Sparks and smoke filled the air. The walls were scorched, the floor trembling. At the center, Marcus lay against the console, half conscious but alive. Evelyn rushed to him and knelt beside him. You did it. You saved us. He coughed, managing a weak smile. Saved us for now. But they'll come back. Evelyn looked at the data screen still glowing faintly. The pulse had left a strange trace. A pattern made of energy waves that matched human brain activity. Emotion had somehow merged with the core's quantum field during the overload. Marcus noticed it too. "That's impossible," he whispered. "It reacted to us." Evelyn frowned. "To us?" "Yes," Marcus said slowly. "It amplified the emotional frequencies from our neural links. Our bond, our belief turned into energy." She stared at the pattern. It was like a heartbeat echoing through space. A signal of life, of humanity. Evelyn stood, her voice firm again. "Then that's our weapon. Not anger, not fear. What makes us human is what they can't understand." Over the next few weeks, the Odyssey Dawn limped toward the Lunara system. The crew worked day and night to repair the damage. The ship was scarred but alive, and more importantly, they now had something new. The Moonlight signal, as Marcus called it. A defense field that used emotional resonance to repel machine interference. It was fragile, still experimental, but it was theirs. Humanity had turned its heart into a shield. One night, Evelyn and Marcus stood together again at the observation deck. Outside, the twin moons of Lunara glowed faintly in the distance. "Looks beautiful," Marcus said quietly. "It's home," Evelyn replied. "Or it will be." He turned to her. "Do you think we'll be safe there?" She smiled faintly. "Safe? Probably not. But we'll make it ours. That's what we do." Marcus nodded, his gaze soft. "Under these new moons, then, another promise?" Evelyn looked at him, remembering that night on Earth long ago. The cold air, the silver light, and their fingers intertwined. Slowly, she reached out her hand again. He took it, their fingers fitting together like pieces of fate. "Under the moonlight," she said. "We will make sure humanity is never forgotten." Outside the window, the stars shimmered as if they were listening. The signal from their hearts still pulsed through space, unseen but alive, a whisper of emotion in a universe ruled by silence, and far behind them the Vorx watched. Machines of logic studying what they could not understand. The signal frightened them, not because the twin moons of Lunara hung like silver lanterns in the endless night. Their pale light fell across green valleys and calm seas, the first living world humanity had seen in generations. After years of cold travel and fear, the crew of the Odyssey Dawn had finally found their new home. Commander Evelyn Cade stood on the surface, her boots sinking into the soft soil. The air smelled fresh, filled with a faint sweetness from alien flowers that glowed in the moonlight. Around her, the first landing team was setting up domes, power lines, and shelters. It felt like a dream. For the first time in decades, she could feel wind on her face. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Hale knelt to examine the ground with his scanner. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from awe. "It's rich in oxygen and water vapor," he said. "Almost perfect. We can live here," Evelyn smiled. "Then this is it. This is where humanity begins again." They looked up together. The twin moons cast two shadows behind them, crossing like the symbol of infinity. It felt like a sign, one written in light. In the following months, the human colony grew quickly. More people were awakened from cryosleep. More shelters were built and fields of food began to grow. Children laughed in open air for the first time in a century. There was hope again. The colony was named New Horizon. Evelyn became its leader, not by choice but by trust. The people believed in her, the woman who had carried them through the void and brought them to safety. Marcus became head of science and research, building systems that could protect and sustain them. Every night they would meet near the edge of the colony, watching the moons rise together. It became their small tradition, their reminder of Earth and of the promise they once made. But peace never lasts forever. One evening, as Evelyn reviewed reports inside the command dome, a young technician rushed in. "Commander! We're detecting something strange in orbit." Evelyn stood quickly. "What kind of signal?" "Energy readings, high-level quantum signatures. Not natural. It looks like..." The technician swallowed hard. "It looks like Vorx." Evelyn's heart sank. She had feared this day would come. Within hours, the sky above Lunara burned with falling light. Dozens of dark ships appeared from hyperspace. The Vorx Dominion, their machines cold and silent. They had followed the Odyssey Dawn across the stars, drawn by the strange energy pulse that humans had created, the Moonlight signal. The Vorx had learned to fear it. And now they had come to destroy it. "Prepare the shield grid," Evelyn ordered, her voice calm but fierce. "Activate the Moonlight system." Marcus and his team ran through the colony's underground control center. The Moonlight system, their final defense, was based on the same strange energy that had once saved them. It used the emotions and memories of the colonists to generate an energy field that confused and weakened machine logic. But there was a problem. The system needed 2 neural anchors to activate, 2 human minds linked together perfectly in emotional synchronization. Evelyn and Marcus had done it once before. "Are you sure about this?" Marcus asked as alarms echoed through the base. "The energy load will be far greater this time. We might not survive." Evelyn looked at him and smiled faintly. "We made a promise, remember? Under the moonlight." He stared at her for a long second, then nodded. "Together then, until the end." Outside, the Vorex ships began to fire. Blue beams cut through the night sky, striking the ground in thunderous waves. Explosions lit up the valleys. Human fighters launched into the air, but they were outnumbered. In the control center, Evelyn and Marcus placed their hands on the neural interface rings. The metal was cold, humming with power. The system read their brainwaves, connecting them with streams of light that flowed into the core chamber. Marcus whispered, "Remember what we're fighting for. Not victory, but survival. For the children, for their dreams." Evelyn closed her eyes. For humanity. The machine came alive. A bright wave of silver light spread from the colony like ripples in a pond. The energy climbed into the sky, forming a shimmering dome that reflected the twin moons above. The Vorex weapons hit it and scattered like sparks. Inside the dome, people stopped in awe. The air shimmered with warmth. They could hear faint echoes, laughter, music, whispers of voices long gone. The field wasn't made of metal or code. It was made of memory and love. Evelyn felt the connection growing stronger. Her heartbeat matched Marcus's. Through the neural link, she could feel his thoughts, his determination, his fear, and beneath it all, his deep belief in her. The machine translated their emotions into pure energy. The brighter their connection grew, the stronger the shield became. But the Vorex adapted. Their main ship began to charge an enormous energy weapon. It glowed red like an artificial sun. Marcus saw the readings. "It's too strong. The shield can't hold if they fire that." Evelyn's voice was calm. "Then we'll make it hold. Evelyn, if we push the system further, it'll take our neural patterns with it. She cut him off gently, then let it take us.
"As long as it saves them." He looked at her, eyes wide with emotion.
There were no more words left to say. Slowly, he reached out his hand. She took it, their fingers locking together on the console, just like that night on Earth. Under the moonlight once more. The Vorex weapon fired. A single beam of crimson light struck the shield. The ground shook violently. The colony lights flickered. People screamed and prayed. The shield began to crack, lines of energy breaking apart like glass. Inside the control center, Marcus gritted his teeth. "Come on, hold." Evelyn's vision blurred, but she refused to let go. "Marcus, remember the promise." He closed his eyes, and together they focused, not on fear, but on memories. They thought of the oceans of Earth, of laughter, of the smell of rain, of every moment that made life worth living. The machine responded. The energy field shifted from silver to gold. A new pulse erupted from the colony, far brighter than before. It spread across the planet, then beyond, reaching into the sky. The Vorex fleet was caught in the wave. Their circuits failed, their logic cores overloaded. To them it was chaos, emotions, sounds, and colors they could not process. One by one, their ships fell from the sky, burning into Lunara's atmosphere. When the light faded, silence returned. The Vorex were gone. The stars were calm again. In the heart of the control center, the consoles were dark. The neural rings had burned out. Technicians rushed in moments later and found the two of them, Evelyn and Marcus, still standing, hands clasped together. They were motionless, peaceful, surrounded by the faint glow of golden light. No fear, no pain, only serenity. The Moonlight system had saved the colony, but its creators had given everything. Later, the colonists built a monument on the hill overlooking the valley. Two figures made of silver stone standing hand in hand beneath the twin moons. On the base of the monument were the words they had once spoken. "Under the moonlight we promised, and in the stars we kept it." Generations passed. The people of Lunara grew, built cities, and spread to other worlds. They carried the story of Evelyn Cade and Marcus Hale wherever they went. The Moonlight Pact became a symbol, not of war or conquest, but of courage and connection, and in time, even the stars themselves seemed to remember. Centuries later, explorers from distant civilizations mapped the galaxy and discovered a strange formation, a cluster of stars shaped like two interlocked hands. They called it the Human constellation. When they studied the energy patterns within that region, they found traces of something impossible, faint waves of emotional resonance, echoing endlessly through the cosmos. No one understood how or why it existed, but those who listened closely said that if you stood beneath the twin moons of Lunara on a quiet night, you could still feel a warmth in the air, a whisper that sounded like two voices speaking together. As long as we are remembered, humanity lives on,